So, hello, namaste, namaskar, good afternoon, good morning, or maybe even good evening, in whichever part of the world you are joining us from. My name is Deepak R. Khemani, and I am one of the co founders of Bloom, along with our CEO and co founder, Payal Irani. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you to the 243rd non-stop Sunday Bloom Talk Show. Come rain or shine, online or offline, every Sunday without fail, we meet a person, a change maker, a person who, with his or her experience, shares their stories, shares their life lesson, shares their learning, so that it can help change at least one person's life. Their journey, their learning is an inspiration for other people to follow. In these last 243 weeks, we've had people from all across the globe, from all across the continents. We've had a person who has visited Antarctica twice. And of course, we have had people from all the other continents joining us, sharing their life, sharing their lessons, sharing their inspiration. Among them, we've got speakers, trainers, coaches. We've got athletes, and this one particular athlete had represented her country 4 times in the Olympics. Imagine getting selected for Olympics once, and this athlete represented her country 4 times. So, trainers, healers, doctors, nurses, couples, change makers, everybody has been there. Continuing that series, we have a very special guest with us today afternoon. She has a very long bio. So, I will not read out everything that has been shared with me. In fact, I will go ahead and ask her to tell us a little bit about what she does and why she does that. But it gives me great pleasure to introduce Dr. Swapnalekha Basak. She has multidisciplinary academic assimilations, workplace well-being, engineering, management, music, counseling, philosophy. She's been awarded the titles of Karmveer and Karmat by NSS Uttar Pradesh. She's authored a textbook on human resource management text and cases, which is now in its second edition. She runs a non-profit called Computer Shiksha, which helps to bridge the digital divide between people, and a lot of underprivileged students are taught for free. She was awarded the Woman of Substance by the Federation of Obstetrics and Gynecologists of India. She specializes in leadership coaching using ancient wisdom, mainly from the Arthashastra and Vedantic literature. This is something we will be focusing on today to learn from her many years of experience. And as you can see, my hair color and hair color are the same. So this is one indicator of many years of experience. Welcome to the show, Dr. Swapnalekha Basak.
Namaste to everybody, and thank you so much, Payal and Deepak ji. It's an honor to be on a platform which has hosted the kind of achievers that you spoke of right now. I feel very humbled and honored.
Dr. Swapnalekha, tell us a little bit of your life story. How you started, where you started, when you started, and how over these decades you managed to learn and do so much.
Okay, so I would just chronologically, as I'm an old woman, I'm 53 now, so there's a lot of experience. I'll just chronologically tell you how I came to where it is right now. So I was trained to be an engineer, and but my heart never was in engineering. And you know, our generation, if you're good in science, and if you're especially not a very hardworking person, you take on math, and unfortunately, you write your entrance tests, and then you qualify into engineering, and then you do it. And I have to admit, I must be a very bad engineer. I never practiced it much. So I then went on and I did my MBA, but that's also another thing that I did my MBA in finance because everybody told me you're so good with numbers, so why don't you do your MBA in finance? So that comes the second pivot in life. Then when I was taken on as a management trainee for the DCM group, I went on and I was like a management trainee, but the director of HR over there picked me and said that why don't you just go and devote the rest of your career into HR because you'll be very good. And I knew I would face no ire at home because my visiting card just said management trainee with no finance or HR or anything added to it. So that's how I got introduced into the field of HR. And I'm glad that I did it because I loved it. But my grounding in finance helped me understand business really well. And I dare say I did well in the traditional way. I did well. I grew the ranks. I earned money, and then in 2006, I was the head of HR for SAS India. SAS has been on the great places to work ever since SAS started in the world. So I worked with an amazing organization in the area of business intelligence, but nobody had heard about artificial intelligence at that time. But then there's a very sad fact of my life that I have had hypertension since I was 27 years old. And nobody advised me any better than taking medicines. So I took medicines, and that's the route that I took to fix my life. And obviously, you can imagine by 35, I wasn't burnt out, but I knew that things were not going right. So I trailed my husband to England and decided to not work and go back to university. And since my working life had been with people and since I was kind of good with them, so I went and picked up a course in counseling from Oxford University. But that was a small part of my life in England. I had trailed my husband, so I had no job. I didn't have any money that I was earning myself. And with somebody who had earned well and with a big fat ego, you know what a difficult ride it must have been for me. So I think that was a great, what should I, tapasya, I would say, in Indian terms, that it was to live frugal, swallow your ego and devote yourself to just what can be done best with your time. So I went to university. I learned to cook. I was 36. I didn't know how to cook a proper meal by then because, I had to hire people who would cook for me. So I devoted myself to learning things which I had never done earlier in my life. But I also learned how to live life. So I walked the length and breadth of the river over there. I did lots of walks. I understood. I used to live behind the Royal Botanical Gardens in Kew. So I understood a lot of flora, and my love for flowers, photography came there. So about 2 years, I really learned to live life in a fuller manner. So when I came back, I came back to Delhi and I decided that I would not go back to regular working because that was not my calling then. So by that time, one of my friends had, moved over into academics, and she was the area chair for Narsi Monji in HR. So she said, "Would you want to write a book?" And we made a book proposal that got selected by Pearson Higher Education, and the next 4 years went into researching. I had never researched before that, into researching, into writing a book. And that was my academic grounding in human resources, I would say. And parallelly, I joined lessons in the Bhagavad Gita from the Aurobindo Ashram, which was there in 2008. So for about 4 years, I studied the Bhagavad Gita. And by the time I'd reached chapter 18th, I was up to my nose with knowledge, but there was this yearning from inside that I need to do something with it and what is the point of knowing? And at that time, and I believe a lot in how the universe brings things to you and it works out. So I used to teach in management campuses in Delhi, and there I met my now partner in Computer Shiksha, Dr. Rakesh Suri. Both of us were great friends because we had a great love for reading. So I remember Jeffrey Archer's trilogy had come in, and we were all sitting criticizing how he's no good at writing now. And he said that, if we were to write a book about my corporate life, it would be a bestseller. So I told him, why don't you write? He said, no, that's something I can't do. So both of us started, and we did 3 sittings on it, thinking that we'll write a corporate thriller. Because I had worked in, at that time, various organizations, a couple of them like Star TV. And so there was a lot that I could write in terms of, the going ons in corporates, and it could become a thriller. But then that was not what it had to be. And since he wanted to start it a nonprofit, I had a social bone in me. Always, I wanted to do something for the community. So we started Computer Shiksha, saying that what we knew was technology, because he was CEO of DCM Technologies. I had been in HR, in telecom and technology sector. Both of us were very good teachers, and we knew that we wanted to do something. So we thought that we will go to schools and tell them, you do the rest of the teaching, but you don't know computer literacy. Let us help you with that. So that's how we started our journey. We started with 60 children in 2012 on the 5th of May. It's going to be now about 13 years now this year. And today we have 10 lakh students in all the 28 states in the country, with more than 2,000 schools which are engaged with us. So that's where Computer Shiksha has reached since 2012. I told you that I had hypertension since I was 27. I also figured out with my Bhagavad Gita lessons is that I had failed my job when I was as HR. If in case I couldn't take care of my own health, obviously I would have modeled a very bad life for the others. And as the conscience keeper of the organization, as the head of HR, I'm sure I would have failed my job in inculcating a place which was psychologically safe for leaders to operate in a manner where people's well-being was taken care of. So I thought it was time for me to fix that story. So 2015, then I started my workplace well-being consulting house, and it's called Sthir now. And we are devoted to nurturing psychologically safe workplaces and nurturing leaders for that, because I truly believe that it is only leadership which can actually change the world. So that is, and in the pursuit of leadership, as I told you, my journey with Bhagavad Gita started in 2008, but in 2018, I found a very, very nice community of people in Bombay, and they're called the Living Philosophy Study Group, and that entire group has been put together by one Mr. Rajesh Kamath, and he's the one who specializes in Arthashastra. But more importantly, he's put together a set of people who are very devoted to making an impact in the world using ancient texts. So that's where my journey with Arthashastra and the rest of the other texts that I picked up later from, with the result that today we consult based on, principles from our texts, though we do not talk in Sanskrit or flaunt it, because I also believe that success lies in acting out things and making things understandable for people. So the principles stay intact, but our language stays the same as what the language of workplaces is like. So that's where we are. And I currently, there are two, three other initiatives also, which I'll just touch upon. Is that I've, since 2021, I started monthly dialogues under a banner called Bodhi's 3, because I thought that, again, we were eulogizing more women who had become masculine than women who retained their femininity and led the way.
Yes.
Because I also think that women, women don't need development. Actually, we need women-led development. So my effort is to reclaim femininity in the world, not only in women but in men also. But that started with both history. I'm also very, I also think that the family is the smallest social unit which needs to be protected, and people have to work hard for that. So I also run an initiative called Parents Ki Pathshala. The entire idea is that since families are going nuclear now and they don't have anybody to help them with a job which come organically to you, but given that with every passing generation, you're not getting great role models for even younger people to follow. So you need help from outside. So we do Parents Ki Pathshala. On mine, in terms of individual spirituality, I would say that I'm a Kriya Yogi and I follow Sushumna Kriya Yoga. It's a method of meditation and yoga. And for that, I, as a part of my seva for the foundation and to my guru, I do a podcast series called Sushumna Vani. And that has got about 150 episodes. And the whole idea is that how can I use psychology, Indic psychology, to help people understand where they might be making a mistake and where they probably need to work on themselves to claim their, if I may say, sanity today in a world which is going insane. as it is. So that's what, and the latest is that we have over here the India chair for G100 EIR. G100 is a mission which is devoted for women, and the whole idea is to have women rise and shine together. So G100 has a chapter for diversity, inclusion, and representation, and I lead the Maharashtra chair for that. And as a part of that, there are a couple of things I do. The idea is that to make an impact as much as is possible with, with more and more people joining in the brigade. So, my God, I took a lot of time. So, but then I'm old. So that's what's about me.
If ever there was an explanation of who or what a multifaceted person or a multifaceted woman is, you are a prime example of that. You stand up right on top of that.
Oh,
So
thank
let's talk about what we have what we had decided that we would talk about today. And you mentioned a lot about ancient texts and Arthashastra, and even our topic today is leadership, awaken the leader within. And we all agree that the ancient wisdom that our ancestors passed on to us through all these books and through personalized schooling and training, especially within the Gurukul structure, which for some reason, after the British came in, was, almost killed. Uh, the main topic is leadership. And my first question to you is, given your profile, what you explained to us about what you do, why is leadership so dear to you, and how do we go about this?
I know that's an important why leadership, you would say. I think that, the crisis that we see in the world today, for me, it is a crisis of ethical leadership. So therefore, I think that I would never blame people in general. I think it's those of us who lead, and I also take full responsibility of that myself. Those of us who lead are actually. So if you just look at it from a very 40,000 feet view, what is actually going wrong in the world? And I'd like to quote Otto Scharmer because he's one of my favorite people from MIT. He says there are three kinds of divides which have happened in the world. The first is the ecological divide, which means that today we are consuming 1.5 times than what Earth can offer to us. There's a problem over there on an ecological level, if you see. Then you come to the social divide. We have 8 people in the world who have more than half the assets or wealth of the world. So we have a lot of problems in social equity also. And the third, if you see, do you know today that more number of people are dying by suicide, by anything? So there is, there is a spiritual divide within. I'm not in sync with myself. So I think that the crisis is at multiple levels. And if you see, each of these levels can be addressed with what we have in our texts. So let me just explain. So the first is that we have a crisis at the personal level. Now, post-industrialization, we have started dealing with people as if everybody is the same. But if you look at our texts, if you look at Ayurveda, it will tell you every person's body constitution is different. So you have Vat, Pitta, Kapha, then you have two combination Vat, Pitta, Pitta, Kapha, Vat, Kapha. And then you have one Vat, Pitta, Kapha. That means there are so many kinds of people broadly that we can put. And then every person is a shade of, like you have a shade of RGB, red, green, blue, you have a shade of Vat, Pitta, Kapha. So every individual is unique. Look at everywhere, whether it is medical system, whether you look at the education, where does it recognize that individuals are unique? We are just steamrolling, thinking everybody is same. So Ayurveda is telling you that on terms of body level. In terms of the mind level, you're being told we have sattva, rajas, tamas. So everybody has a different constitution of the mind. So individually, if you see, we have the text to tell every individual how to deal with himself. The entire Yoga Sutras, the Bhagavad Gita has so much. The entire chapter 17 in the Bhagavad Gita tells you what you should eat, how you should behave, how you should talk based on what your constitution is. You've got prescription lying over there. We're not using it. So see, on an individual crisis level, you've got the Yoga Sutras and the Bhagavad Gita telling you. Now look at the family level, where, you and I still can say that, my father was like this, my grandfather was like this, and we take inspiration from the way they were. Where are the examples today?
Yes.
So we have got such a powerful ashram vyavastha, which is a part of our social fabric. It's not there. So we have, if you look at 100 years of life, 25 years is brahmacharya, 25 years is grihas, 25 years is vanipras, 25 years is sannyas. Now look at, we are all right now 50
Yeah.
plus. We should be moving away from grihas into vanipras. It's not happening. Everybody is catching on. I want to know everything that's happening in my child's life. Even if my child has got married, I'm calling and finding out what's going on. I still want to have control. I'm not stepping back, which is why there's so much of intergenerational crisis which is happening. Simple principles like this can be taken. That's about the social thing. Organizational, tell me. Organizational wise, in everybody's talking profit, planet. In our country, we've lived with the concept of Shubh Labh.
Hmm.
Labh, if in case it's not Shubh, is Anarth. So we say Arth is Shubh Labh, and if the Labh is not Shubh, it is. If that devotes each, if that informs each and every action that a small businessman till the organizations, large organizations take, where is the need for corporate social responsibility, which is like a band-aid? If you do your business right, you do everything right, right? So
Yes.
you're selling sugared water, and then you are digging, taking water from the water table, and then you're trying to help farmers. What are we trying to do? It's actually foolish if you see. That's at the
Yeah.
social level. Look at societal level. We are, I mean, there is so much going on. You should behave like this, behave like that. We have got huge amount of tests, Deepaji. If I tell you, like for example, Sam, Dan, Bhed, Dand is a method of engaging with people, right? It is a method which every person should know based on the fact that every human being that I engage with is different. Therefore, I need to engage differently with them. So you have the texts like the Panchatantra, the Hitopadesh, the Jataka tales, the Katha Charit Sagar. There is so much which is lying over here. If children would be taught, families would be taught, you would know how to be discerning in your decisions that you're making. Because if we come from a culture, we understand that life is nuanced. There aren't any easy answer. Therefore, in our civilization, we've never said lying is wrong. It's always the intent which goes behind
Hmm.
actually which are lying or not lying. Then you look at the entire world and the way it is going right now. We have been saying Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Hmm.
It is every country's onus to not feel itself separate from others, but only for some temporal purpose. So you have to have a boundary, and you have to have a set of, because it's smaller is beautiful, you can manage it right. But then that has informed, and then you see on a civilizational basis. Look at what is happening with the Arctic now melting. You see how all countries are just going for it. There is no sense of responsibility that any country is showing, except ours. If you see, if any country is showing. So I think that India is very poised to actually take a leadership stand at every level, from the individual to the
Yeah.
civilizational level, if you want to get it right
Yes.
over here. But then at the
Yeah.
same time, I would also say, let us not be rabble rousers saying, we've got the best over here. If you do not inform your action in your personal, your social, your leadership roles, then it is no point. So I'm always careful about ranting, and I always add this byline saying that let us understand what our texts have. Because if we get leadership at the individual level, mental health problems will go away. Leadership at the organizational level, this toxic workplaces thing will go away. So I think every problem crisis in the world that I see is a crisis of leadership. And that's why I'm so passionate about actually talking about it and trying to move the needle, not only just by speaking, but I try my level best to inform my own conduct with it. Because if I do not do that, then it's again the same as anybody else doing that. So that's like a
Wonderful. Now, my question to you, depending upon what you answered just now, is does leadership come with age? And there is a question which is coming after this, but I want your view on this first so that the next question can follow. Do you believe, or given the experience that you've had over the past 30 plus years, do you think leadership comes with age or leadership matures with?
It does mature with age, I would say, not coming with age,
Yeah.
because I think that age is just a number. It is the number of events, situations, crises that you have gone through life and experienced mindfully is actually what adds to your wisdom. And that a person much younger than me can have it, and a person much older than me might not have it. So I therefore routinely, for me, age is just a number. I find it very easy for me to sit down with younger people, observe and learn from them. So in the Arthashastra, the word which is used for experts for doing this is called Vriddhopaseva. That means Vriddha Upaseva. Vriddha means anybody who's an expert at anything. Upa means sitting close, and doing seva means helping the cause of those people. And then that's the way you learn and actually derive wisdom in your own life.
So wonderfully explained. And the next part of the question is this. We see in the world today, we've elected a prime minister who is 75 years old. The US has elected a president who is 78 years old. But on the other side, especially on social media, we have 21-year-old business coaches, we have 22-year-old, parenting coaches and whatnot. And these people have millions of followers. So where does true leadership lie?
Well, it concerns me when I see very young people advising, because I think they mean well, but they come from a space of their limited experience. And I therefore always, since I told you, I am somebody who follows texts. So let me just say this: any civilization matures with age. India is an old civilization. China is a very old civilization. I traveled to Australia and I've read the literature which the Aborigines over there believe in, very close to what we believe in. So I think that only with cumulative experience that a civilization learns and understands what is the best way to realize itself. And true knowledge lies only in there. And I think, therefore, I mean, there are lots of disasters happening any which ways right now, but this age of social media influencers will go down, because there will be a time when they will not be able to have all the answers. I routinely tell people who, based on their limited experience, take on advisory roles. I make it my business to tell them that you have to first learn, realize, understand the truth before you go out and actually start speaking about it. And about so that's if that answers your question.
It does, but as we proceed, as we mature in our questions and with your answers, other points of views will come up. Now, in your previous roles through the corporate journey, you've led large teams, and now you are running enterprises. When did you first start thinking about leadership beyond, just HR or human resource management or just managing people? When did the
Yeah.
concept of leadership come and then mature? Yeah.
So actually, so I started having a team when I was 28. I started leading a team from the time that I was 28 years old. And I led from whatever little limited understanding that I had, I led. But did I think about leadership at that time? No, I never read a book about leadership. I intuitively did what I did because from college I used to lead social, what should I say, initiatives. So there was some amount of experience that I had, and I never thought about it significantly about leadership. And I'll tell you how it occurred to me when I started. When we start After I left my job, I was into individual roles. So I was teaching, that's an individual role. And then I stepped into my yet again another role of a founder for Computer Shiksha. So we had decided that we are going to service schools who are serving communities. We will not start a school of our own because that's not what our thing is like. And so we used to, Dr. Suri and I would go and meet school owners, those who were running schools for underprivileged children. And I started noticing in them lack of leadership. For example, I saw that they started their initiative for the good, but down the line it became about them and not the initiative. And I could see that hurt me, because I could see good people with good intentions coming in their own way because of their own ego. Now, when you are not able to expand and lead and do something, then you start realizing what is missing in them. And you remember I told you that so that was the first time that the penny dropped, that we need leadership. If there aren't any leaders, no good enterprise will also expand. Because I have seen people working in very limited constituencies because of their lack of leadership. So that's the first time that this occurred. Then when I started looking at others, you always notice in others what you actually do not have in you also. So when I started noticing in them, that is why this realization came in me that, well, I was head of the department for HR. HR is the conscience keeper of an organization. So in terms of performance, ethic, everything I did well. But I myself was a sick person. And I'm sure I must have bred a lot of sick people around me because of the way that I was. And then I realized that somebody should be talking about it. So I was a person who was always awarded, given major raises, bonuses, sent abroad because I did very well, in spite of the fact that I was destroying my health. And I think that's something so wrong. And I think somebody need to start talking about it. And then I realized that leadership was not only missing in me, that leadership was also missing in my seniors. Because for the lack of, I would say, ignorance. I don't think that there was anything pointedly somebody wanted to do anything wrong, but it was just plain ignorance. And therefore, when I started Deepakji in my workplace well-being in 2015, and I got no traction till the time COVID happened. But what it did for me is that from 2015 to 2020, I had worked so hard in understanding this entire space that as soon as COVID came, and because of all the wrong reasons, people started realizing that health is a thing, that then I had an enterprise which had services which was ready to help organizations to do that. So I would say this realization of leadership came only after I had stepped out of the organization space, and in hindsight, I should say. So it was everything about actually hindsight.
On a side note, what is it with HR that whoever is there in HR wants to leave HR and go and do something else? Whoever person we have spoken to or have connected with always had an HR background and then wanted to leave and go and do something.
So I never wanted to leave HR because I loved my job. Because my feeling is that if you understand business well, and you know how to contribute to the business, HR is that department which should be the strongest in every organization. Because given that our economy is now a services economy, what's actually working and not working for organizations are its people. So if you don't have an extremely strong functional HR head, then the organizations cannot move. So you would say, so there's another, I would give a disclaimer to that, that I left wherever I found that I could not influence my CEO into my ways of thinking. I quit my job over there and I said no. So, but I have worked with some amazing leaders, and I have added to the quality of people's life, their learning, and I've had a very, very, what should I say, gratifying role in HR, Deepak. And I think that one of the things which helped me was my MBA in finance, because I understood business. So nobody could actually sit down and tell me things where I would not be able to. So no sales guy could fool me. No CFO could tell me that they didn't have the money. But I also collaborated with CFO. So I'll give you an example that I work for so I'm the generation of HR which brought telecom into India. So first time when telecom came into India, I used to work for a company called GTL, Global Telesystems, and I was head of the department for their EPC, their project management organization. Now, when the telecom 2G licenses came, GTL also had a manufacturing setup in Pune where people were manufacturing antenna. And the duty for antennas had been removed. So it became unviable to make antennas in India. People started importing. So I had people coming over from there. So we had a choice to ask people to go away or ask people to be absorbed within us. And I think that every organization owes it to its people to keep their livelihoods. I think it is a obligation that an organization has, which I think these days no organizations look at it like it. But it is an obligation of every institution to see that its people are engaged for a livelihood. Because there's a lot of talk about passion and all that stuff, but Everybody needs a livelihood. You need a paycheck to run with. So the option was that what do we do? So at that time I said that let's get people over to come from Pune, but what will these people do? So we said, now what do we do? So we are setting up telecom, towers and BTSs and switches are getting installed. What do you do with these people who are from manufacturing? But they are all diplomas and they know their engineering, and most of it has to be learned. So I say that, okay, fine, training is not going to work out for them. So I sit with the CFO and I make sure that the entire training budgets get converted into travel budgets. And I say
Hmm.
that with the training budget, you will get my boys and girls, largely they were boys, to travel, because with one engineer, there will be one other who will go. And believe me, those people at that time, they were making X salary over there. But when they had come and they had learned the job, and by that time, we had only BPL and Orange, but then Airtel came, and there's so many new operators who came. Oh, their employability went up through the roof. But did they leave the organization? They did not. Because they thought that this was an organization which invested in me to bring me to this place. So, people are good. If you take care of their interests, and for that, you need character. And I think that is what, if people have that, you do good. So I'm not one of those who wanted to leave HR at all. And I still think that I run an organization which is actually HR and not HR. Now I think I run an organization which does social work at workplaces. That's the way I look at my organization now. So that's it.
Wonderful. Now, since you shared that GTL episode, and yeah, yeah, you've been through that period during the late 80s and early 90s, when India was opening up.
Yes.
Previously, we had only Indian industrialists, Tata Birlas, and a few leftovers of the earlier British, the Levers and the Nestle and all those things were there. But
Mm.
suddenly in the late 80s and 90s, we started hearing about best practices of the world. And, the Japanese gave us Kaizen and Ikigai, and we were taught that we are bringing in these foreign partners and we will get to learn the best practices from them. Now,
Yeah.
tell us your difference. What did you understand? What did you experience about the leadership between these Western organizations when they started coming in and the Indian culture, and what, Arthashastra teaches us?
So, that great question. So, when I wrote that book, so there was about 4 years of research that I went in and look at all, so I read up all MIT Sloan Review, all HBR. So that was enough that I had collected. And you would see that all the statements that they give are not complete. I'll give you an example. So, Peter Drucker says that everything which is measured improves. All of us know that. Everything which is measured improves. Then you have Edward Deming who came in and said that nothing that is important can be measured. How do you put these two things? So individually, if you see both these sentences are individually not correct, but you put it together and both these look like paradoxes, but that's what the truth is. And I think that Indian wisdom brings all these paradoxes together. I think, and that wisdom lies somewhere in the balance. So you don't run after this, which is why if you see books on leadership, first you will get the one book comes from an author. Then they will say, you know what, we've thought a little more. So then there'll be another book which will come. And then it becomes a rage, New York Times bestseller. It sells for 2, 3, 4 years, and then it's again, and then somebody writes something new. I think our principles are actually eternal. They stay forever. So let me give you an example. Leadership hi dekh lete hain, because leadership is a subject of interest. So first there was this leadership theory, which was a great man theory. Leaderships will have this qualities. So in the Arthashastra, a leader who actually continuously expands its territory and impacts people well, the name is called Vijigishu, and there are traits which are said that if these have this, then so great man theory हमारे अर्थशास्त्र में already थी. Then you have the behavioral theory that actions are more important than traits. Our entire Karma Siddhant, if you see, all talks about that action is more important than anything, any traits that you see. Then you had situational leadership. If the person is like this is the way you should behave. There was this 4 quadrant, the commitment of the person, the capability of the person. You have a much richer than that, which is Samdam Bhed Dand. Samdan Bhed Dand can apply to every situation and every. So there isn't anything else which is needed other than that. So then you have servant leadership now. Latest has come servant leadership, which Green came in and talked about it. Now, in our text, whether it is the Arthashastra or whether it is the Bhagavad Gita, there is a term for it called Raja Rishi. That means one who's a Raja as well as a Rishi, which means that somebody who's at the top of the pile, who's a leader, has to be a Raja and a Rishi. And the example that we have is of Raja Janak. So if you see Raja Janak's conduct as it's described in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, or you read it in the Ramayana, there was a reason why he was called Videha. That means he had no attachment with the Deha, which is the body. So his understanding of the truth was so complete, and that is why he could lead so well. So I think what the Western civilization has been chota, 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 chota karke given, it is all present in us, in our texts which are there. And there's much more. I'm only comparing what is there over there and also over here. But beyond this, there's so much. For example, the Arthashastra. Now, Arthashastra is economics. So लोगों को लगता है it's a economics की किताब है. But Arthashastra, okay, let me take a couple of steps back and then you will understand what the Arthashastra is. So, Kautilya's sutras, the first sutra says, Sukhasya moolam dharma. That means Sukha ka mool dharma hota hai. That means for happiness, to follow your dharma, and for the lack of any better word, duty or ethic, if I may say, then you will be happy. Then it says, Dharmasya moolam artha. You cannot discharge your responsibilities if you do not have artha. So without resources in hand, you cannot discharge your dharma. This is a practicality. And arthasya moolam rajyam. If you want artha to be created, you need a rajya. That means you need an enterprise. So therefore, the job of an enterprise is to create artha so that everybody is able to discharge their dharma properly. This is what the Arthashastra teaches, that if there is a leader, the leader could be of a state, the leader could be of an organization, you have to create the state in a manner that it is able to create the resources so that all its inhabitants are able to live life such that they can discharge their dharma. That means if it's a professional, he's able to do his job well. If it's a family person, he's able to discharge his family responsibilities properly. If it's an individual, he's able to discharge his individual responsibilities properly. So that is the purpose of the Arth. So you see, Arthashastra is a book which tells you how to run a full enterprise in all possible ways. So obviously it is a text on governance, and it tells every leader what to do. So I'll tell you two parts for those of you, anybody who's listening and you get interested in what the Arthashastra is. The Arthashastra has many sub books to it. I think there are 15 books in there. And the first book is called Vinaya Adhikaran. Vinaya means discipline. So the first book is all devoted to the kind of discipline that a leader ought to have, understanding of things which are there. So the entire book is about, so there are many concepts in there which talk about how should a state be organized. The concept of Raja Rishi comes in. How should a leader actually be to actually lead the state? Then you have book 6, which many of you must have read about. It's called the Mandal theory, which is very, very famous in the world. The Mandal theory is all about how is a state organized within itself, and how are states organized amongst them. So there is a theory called Saptang that it says that every organization has got 7 ang to it. That means parts of a body, and parts of a body are never, the hand is not more important than the leg. So in Western literature, you will make organization structures with the leader on the top, and then you will down, right? This is the way you draw it. But if you look at the Arthashastra, it will tell you the leader is at the center, around which there'll be another layer of people, around which another layer. So there's no hierarchy. It is only distance from the power. So the first is the Swami, which is the leader. Then there's Amatya, which means the CXO team, as we can see, the CXO team. Then the Janpad, which means the people who you are serving, they are also a part of your organization. Now think about it. Which organization looks at its customers as a part of its own structure? No one. So Arthashastra says whoever you are servicing is also a part of your structure. So that's the Janpad. Then after the Janpad comes the Kosh, which is the treasury, because if you don't take care of the treasury, then how? Then comes the Durga. Durga means the establishment, the fort. How do you make your fort strong so that it is able to withstand the onslaught of enemies? And within the fort, everybody lives happily. So that's the Durga. And then you have Dand. Dand means people, army, those who are working. And another one is the Mitra. Mitra means those who are your alliances. So you see the vision of the Arthashastra in terms of looking at an organization is far wider than any text has given us in the world today. It starts from the leader and it also includes the alliance also to be a part of it. How many you have these days? You have not you have programs of alliance management and what should you say, a symbiotic relationship between your partners and you. They are as if new words, but the Arthashastra has always told you your mitra are very important to you. They are the ones who tell you what is going on outside over there so that you can fortify yourself well. So within the Arthashastra, you have knowledge for you as an individual, how to emerge as a leader, but it also tells you how to run your state so that everything inside it runs well. So there's one chapter which is called Kantak Shodhan, which tells any obstacles which come in governance, how do you take care of them? For example, corruption. It talks about no government official should stay in one team for more than 18 months because it is a nature of the human mind to either create fiefdoms or do some kind of a monetary indulge in some kind of misappropriation. So see, it is such a practical text which assumes people might become like that. So therefore change it. And how many times have organizations complained about leaders creating a fiefdom and complaining about it? But the Arthashastra had got principles if you follow, then there's no way that you can make mistakes like that. So that's what the Arthashastra is all about. And from the Arthashastra, if you see, Panchatantra is almost like the case studies for Arthashastra. So Arthashastra has told you that Sam, Dan, Bhed, Dand as a philosophy. Panchatantra will have a story which will tell you how does this actually pan out in terms of behavior. Can you hear me, Payal?
Yes, we all
Yes,
can.
yes.
Yes, yes, we can. Yes.
I think Deepak sir's video is frozen.
Frozen, yeah. So I'll just continue. Okay. So okay, suffice
He
it
will
to say-
join in. Please continue. Please
Yeah.
continue, Swapnalekha.
So oh, there he is. So that's what the Arthashastra has. That's what I could say. I mean, I can go on for a day if you want me to, but it's such a big treatise and there's so much to learn from it that I can only just give you a dip into it with a few things that I mentioned to you.
Yes, there is this saying going around, that, we were all born leaders, but it is modern education that ruined us. So my question to you is, why isn't Arthashastra and all this ancient wisdom taught to us in schools and colleges?
Well, we are having a conversation about it. So hoga, wo bhi hoga. That will also happen because see how many people right now know. I'll tell you another problem which we have on this is that all these Sanskrit texts have been actually translated by Sanskrit scholars. Now you understand that understanding leadership as a leader is very different from a grammarian understanding the language about leadership.
Yes.
So what has happened, we have translations, but now we need professionals like us. And all of us need to pour ourselves into it, saying that how can I give it more meaning? For example, Shubh Labh har jagah likha hota hai. Is it not written on every doorstep which is there? But we need to infuse it with meaning. So we have been stuck with just the words now. To shuruaat ho gayi hai. We are working with colleges, we are working with schools to propagate it, but we need many more people. So I hope some of you who are listening and get curious about it enough, and you could always reach out to me. There's a question, it's an amazing book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Amit, thank you so much for asking that question. It has in the first chapter something very, very I would say very in sync with Indic wisdom. It says that you should be a principle-centered person and not a relationship or this or that. You have to be a principle-centered person. That is what being dharmic is. That when you are ethical and principle-centered person, and that's what makes you the most effective. So I think the time will come, Deepak Ji. I mean, we will hear more of it. As my organization, Sthir, we keep talking about it. We're taking the Yoga Sutras, the Panchatantra, the Natya Shastra, the Bhagavad Gita, to as many places as is possible, and people are warming up to it. I live in Navi Mumbai. There's a IKS cell which has got created over here. I'm a part of that. We are doing some research and finding out how many of the practices from the Yoga Sutras can find resonance with students. What little part of it can we talk to students so that they could impact their lives? So it will change, but it's important wherever whoever is finds any opportunities, please do talk about it, because I think if we are able to learn what our roots have given us, no, our lives would be much better. Oh, great. Great, Saurabhji, that you're reading the Arthashastra. This is fantastic. I hope you're reading Dr. Kangle's translation. That is the best that we have, actually. And feel free to please get in touch with me if in case there's anything that you would want to know, discuss, or, need resources. I'll be happy to share those.
So the fact that, people are actually responding, asking questions on the chat, let me open up the forum. And if anybody has a question, they want to add a point from their experience,
Sure.
want to ask Dr. Swapnalekha, please unmute yourself, go ahead and ask.
Yeah, just because we are talking about this teaching of the Gita and the other spiritual books into the schools, but the Article 30 of the Constitution does not allow us at present to, it does not permit to teach those in the schools. Is it correct, or that is
I
going to be repealed now?
No, I will not be able to comment on the legality of that. But as I had said, Amitji, earlier also, that the essence of what is there in the Bhagavad Gita has to be taught to students. So nobody stops us from taking the essence of the Bhagavad Gita and talking to our students about, say, for example, what is the Karma Siddhant? Who stops us from talking law of karma? If we understand the law of karma, you're sorted, you know how to guide your life then. Can we talk about who a Sthita Pragya is, which the Bhagavad Gita describes? There are 2 shlokas in the Bhagavad Gita which tells you, it's called the ladder of fall, which tells you how one leads to one's own, destruction by getting attracted to things which your senses are pulling you to. Simple things. I'm telling you, take the photo of the Bhagavad Gita, bhai, that the cover which is there of Bhagavad Gita, what does it have? It has a chariot. The chariot is our body. Those 5 horses which are pulling are our senses. The reins are actually the buddhi. The horses are the man, and the intellect, the person who's holding on to the reins is the intellect. That picture itself tells you so much to lead your life. You don't even need to tell them any shlokas about it. So I think that at the end of the day, na, agar kuch karna hai, so we can always go and do a bit then.
Yes. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Deepak sir, you are muted. If anybody wants to ask some
No.
question, they can unmute yourself.
Mahima has asked a question. When business is governed by relationships, which can be defined by various aspects, then how strongly can we abide by principles? If your understanding of your principles is correct, if you have understood the goal of your life correctly, then you will find the strength to stick to your principles and abide by them. When we start defining ourselves by what others expect us to be, then that is the time that then we dither in deciding what has to be done, what is not to be done. I think, Mahima. And we can have a conversation on the side about that also.
Wonderful. Thank you for asking that question. And Hina is here with us. Hina, can you show us your pretty face? Hina, by virtue of being last week's guest, I give you the chance to say something or ask a question. So till Hina organizes herself and decides what to ask, let me see if there is anything else, or I will continue with our question and answers. So,
You can ask Harish sir or Brenda to.
yes, Brenda is
they
not
have-
there. I think she was there, but she's no longer there. Yeah, okay. So
Harish
let
sir.
me ask you. Yeah, Harish. Yes, Harish sir.
He has also left.
No, he's still there, but his camera is not on. No problem. We'll ask them once they are back. So now let me ask Dr. Swarna this question. How do we then awaken the leader inside ourselves?
Yeah, that's the entire purpose of this entire conversation. So there are 2 very important words we should all make a note of, and please research and find out as you can so that we talk to others. There's something called swabhav, swa ka bhav, That means something which is innate to us. So when you do the Gallup Strength Finder or whatever profiling that you have done, it tells you what your natural choices and inclinations are. As Sri Aurobindo used to say, that you can decide by asking yourself, what is it that I can pay money to do? You know, not expect money. I love it so much that I can actually pay money to do that. That is your innate swabhav. When we start denying our innate swabhav, we cause ourselves mental as well as physical damage. That is the most important thing. Now, so there are various ways in you find out what your swabhav is. Based on your swabhav, then you decide what your swadharma should be. What is it that you should be doing? And for each of these things, we need to look therefore inwards. Today, what is happening? I am picking up a course on AI because AI is very happening and I need to know about it, and I'll get a good job if I do AI. Irrespective of the fact that I will probably earn a lot of money, but I'll feel so depleted, bored. I'll just do it for the money. Now, you are thinking you're doing it only for the money, but the time that you are doing your job, which is away from your swabhav, is it actually harming you?
Yes.
So I think that it's so important for our educational system to first let students diagnose and understand their own swabhav. And for that, you need a quiet time for reflection. Today, because of the internet and the social media, there is no pause that we are making at all.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we are doing to pause. And in that moment of pause only can there be reflection. And in that moment of reflection, can you find out what your swabhav is? And if you do not know what your swabhav is, you'll make wrong choices. And if you make wrong choices, then you will say the workplace is toxic, people are bad to me, because you're not enjoying your job, because you're only defining your experience by how others are engaging with you.
Yeah.
And after you've understood your swabhav, then you have to decide what your swadharma is. And then that's the way to lead life. And therefore, if you do your swadharma based on your swabhav, that is when you'll actually lead your life from the front. Leading means what? I have the reins of my life and nobody is making me do anything. I'm doing things because I want to do it. So you have 100% agency on your own life then. So I think that is the way to actually awaken the leader within. And for that, what is most important is to actually reflect and do inward focused. Regularly take time to look inwards. And if we don't do that, there's no way that we will be able to do it.
Yeah. Wonderful. I mean, there's so much wisdom in these last 2 or 3 minutes that you have shared that it will take some time to, assimilate all that. Hina is there. There I see Hina. Go ahead.
Hi, Deepak. Thank you so much. Firstly, thank you, Bloom Talk, for having Dr. Basak, and I got the opportunity through you to meet such an incredible person. Thank you, Dr. Basak, for coming here and gracing. I tell you, from the moment you started of speaking of how you're working on bringing femininity in men and women, I mean, that's a rare thing people ever happen to say that they want to work on, especially when you're expecting a talk on leadership. And I've absolutely loved it when you said that how important character is, because as Deepak has rightly said, that was my topic in the last talk, where I was emphasizing that character is something that we all need. It is missing, and how we need to build it up. So that was a conversation, and you just solidify that fact with your esteemed knowledge and wisdom. So thank you so very much for that as well. Ma'am, my question to you is, as you have been speaking intensely about our Veds, our Arth Shastra, and since it's a nuclear family and a lot has to be completed within the 24 hours that we have, how do you propose at this point in our life can we start learning about these practices, given even the teachers to teach the Arth Shastra are limited? To understand the right knowledge, you need to have the right mentor. So how do you suggest, where should we seek this knowledge and how should we embrace it in our life?
There has to be intense hunger for learning. That's the most important thing. The most important thing is there has to be intense hunger for learning, because it is difficult. So if you have intense hunger, then you pull yourself through and do that. So now there aren't established, what should I say, schools or places where you can learn all of this. But whatever you're interested in, Hina, whichever text that you're interested in, you have to just get in touch with me and I'll lead you to those people who can actually help you explore the text. Anytime, any text.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, because as I am also into learning and development, and leadership development is one of my core competency, I'm certain that through your guidance, I can also put in my efforts to take this knowledge and take this wisdom to other set of
Excellent.
people and inspire our
Yeah.
youth and our leadership to embrace how Earth Shastra and rest of Earth Shastra teaching to run places better. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad for people, for young people like you getting interested in it, because that's where the hope lies, you know. So I am always
The
ready.
pleasure is all
One
ours.
young person wanting to learn, you reach out to me. And the next week I'm traveling, take my numbers from Payal and reach out to me, and I'll tell you which are the books to buy, which are the talks to listen to. I'll send you my notes. And because Chanakya's, Kautilya's Arthashastra is a very dense book. So you
Indeed.
should first start with what is called Chanakya Sutras, which are simpler. So that's like digested Arthashastra into simpler sutras. And for leadership, there is a collection which there's one gentleman from Ahmedabad, Ashok Garde, has put together. I will send you the link on Amazon. Buy that book, start reading it. You can fix time with me, say once in 10 days, to clarify whatever doubts you have, and you are ready to go. Because remember, Hina, it's all about how I'm implementing it in my own life, which will make insights easy for me and then to take it to my learners. So I always say that whatever you're reading, study it, apply it.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Basak.
You got me,
Wonderful.
Swapna.
Thank
I
you,
just
Ina, for joining in. Harish, sir.
Yeah, I just want to say that I am very happy to listen to the talk, and so interesting that she has got a wealth of knowledge on this aspect. My only concern is people do not feel the hunger to learn what had happened in this country hundreds of years back. Today, there is a fashion for AI, but there's no fashion to learn what has happened. So I know there will be some great people, but those great people are not available also to pass on this knowledge because there is lack of hunger. So how do you create that hunger is my question. And is it necessary for you to create it now, or you're okay without it?
No, it's important that we create the hunger. It's very important. One, where if the hunger is not there because of absence of knowledge, then we can fill in that knowledge like I spoke about today, and a few people would get interested and say, Acha, oh, that means I can use Panchatantra to teach leadership now. That's interesting. So people would get interested and come in. But as I said, Harishji, as I said, 10 come, 2 stick on. So this stick-to-itiveness of with the Shastras is low, because it's difficult. Because you have to first pour it into your own life and live it. But I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up.
I know of two people. One is Devdutt Patnaik, and one is Radhakrishnan from our fraternity of speaking and coaching. So they are the people who speak on this and share their knowledge, the wealth of their wisdom. But if you speak, they may be 1 out of 100. I am talking about the balance 99. How do we re-educate them?
I can say that you find me the forums, and I'm ready to come and talk as much as is possible with whoever is interested in what. One of the things is that I do a lot of text. So I do the Arthashastra, then I also do the Natya Shastra. Your question would be, why would you want to do the Natya Shastra? Because the entire idea of Natya Shastra, why it was written, is that everybody is not of a cognitive kind. You know, everybody doesn't like to
They
think.
learn with the display.
Yeah, so
Yes.
they learn with some other things. So performing arts might be your way of listening, thinking. Now the Natya Shastra has got such thing, communicating. For leaders, what is the communication is half the job. There's so much which is there over there. And therefore, we need to cater to the interest that the person has. Like, for example, I've been saying Bhagavad Gita has been used for too many things.
Yes.
We need more texts. There are different texts which are there. Why only limit ourselves to that? Introduce people to things which they are interested. Suppose somebody is interested in music. tell them about the Nad Brahma. There's so much about Nad, which is sound. From there, they will start their journey and go in. That is also a method of finding leadership within you. So I think we have to
So
cater
my
to the...
question here is, are we looking at schools and colleges still doing it, or they have forgotten how to impart this knowledge?
Well, I think that the biggest problem, that challenge that we have right now is the number of people who know the text to be able to actually teach it. So while the NEP has put in a lot of things for interdisciplinary things happening, where do we have the teachers to actually go and do it? So the Ministry of Education has an IKS unit there, and they are, so I have friends there, they are doing mass trainings of people, teachers, professors. But then, if it's a purist, they will say, oh, the training is not good enough. But we have to start somewhere. So
I agree.
It
I
started.
agree.
So that's
And
why
you're doing a great job. You're doing a great
thank you
job.
so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. I mean, the learning from a 1 hour session, speaking with somebody who is an expert, who has, traveled the path, who has seen what they are talking about, who's experienced it, is so much that we would love to keep on this conversation going. But it's a Sunday afternoon, as I said always, and it's nearing lunchtime. Our family members are waiting for us to join them for lunch. Let me bring in Payal. Payal, do join in and officially close this session.
Thank you, Deepak sir. Thank you everyone for joining us at this point of time. And on 250th episode is coming sooner. So stay tuned for more information on Bloom platform. My heartfelt gratitude for sharing beautiful insights, and it was a powerful session, Dr. Swapnalekha. Thank you for being here and gracing the Bloom platform. God bless us all, and see you for a 244th
Fourth episode
next Sunday.
Official
Thank you,
closing
everybody, for
ceremony
joining
cannot
in.
happen without Mr. Deepak singing a
Oh,
song.
yeah.
Yes, we are waiting for Amit to give that reminder. So since we were talking about inspiration and leadership and Gana, I wasn't really able to really recall some song जो मुझे पूरा याद है जो मैं गाऊं, but then थोड़ा Google बाबा के help से there is a song from the movie Imtihan where, I mean, oldies will remember it. Vinod Khanna, रुक जाना नहीं तो
तू
कहीं
कभी
हार
हार
के
के
कांटों पे चल के मिलेंगे साए बहार के ओ राही we are all people who are traveling this journey called life. People say that we are all human beings who are in search for divinity. We are actually divine souls passing through a human experience. What say Dr. Swapnalekha?
Of course. So the most difficult question that we've always had is, who are you?
Yeah.
So if we understand that the self within is there forever, we stop worrying about either dying or anything wrong happening to us. So I think that's
wonderful.
And when we realize that, that's when that penny drops and you become a true leader then.
Yeah, that is when you become a true leader. You understand your essence. You understand who you are and why you were given birth to come into this world. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, all you lovely souls, for joining us today on this Sunday afternoon. Hope to see you again on the 244th episode and in 6 weeks on the 250th celebratory episodes coming up soon. Thank you, everybody, and God bless us all.
Thank you so much. And kudos to you for continuously doing it for 243 weeks, because as our Shastra says, Anushasan is the most important thing. And you've got that one absolutely right.
Thank you. Thank
you so much for having me over. Okay.
Thank you.
God bless us.
God bless us all.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank
nice
you so
Sunday,
much.
everyone.